Well, it is time for today's Breakfast Bite on Pure 247 Radio, and I'm joined today by another guest from Torch Trust. Her name is Linn Davies. Hello, Linn. How are you?
I'm fine, Nathan. How are you?
Very well, thanks. It's good to see you. How is your day going?
My day is going very well. The sun is shining, and I'm on good form. I got my morning run in, so that makes a whole difference.
Ah, fantastic. Well, it's good to hear that. And yes, it is nice to see a lot more sunshine, isn't it? As spring is finally here. It's been a bit of a cold, bleak winter, but it's definitely getting warmer, which is great. Well,
Yes, absolutely.
before we head into today's Breakfast Bite, would you like to tell us a little bit about your association with Torch Trust, what you do there?
Yeah, right. So I am a content creator, and what that means now is that I am producing the radio show Reflections, which goes out on RNIB Connect Radio and Radio Maria and a radio station in New Zealand. And I also create other content for Torch, though it's a very new role. So we're sort of scoping out exactly what it means. But I've also produced a number of podcasts for Torch as well, including Walking by Faith and Insights.
Wow, awesome. Are you enjoying that?
I am, yes. I'm quite happy when I can sit and edit audio for one whole day. That makes me quite happy.
Yes, I do a bit of that myself, and it is very enjoyable. But yes, fantastic. What have you got for us then for today's breakfast bite?
Yeah, so I really just want to talk about faith being a journey rather than a destination, because I think it's really easy sometimes, when you become a Christian to think, oh, I have arrived at a destination. I am in the light, that there's nowhere else to go now. Like I'm here. But the truth is that the reality of daily life is such that nothing stays blissful and beautiful, whatever it is, even though it is a blissful and beautiful thing. Um, and it just kind of grows and deepens and shifts, doesn't it, Faith?
Hmm.
And any relationship, like the relationship we have with God, is like any relationship. Like it has joy, it has growth, it has sometimes absence, and then it can also have renewal and doubt as well. Doubt, silence, and renewal. Yeah. And Philippians always talks about this by talking, and Philippians 1:6 in particular talks about this, saying that God is still like he's still working in us. So we're not finished. And also we won't be finished until the day that we meet face to face.
Yeah.
And also like there's a lot of uncertainty as well around faith. And real faith isn't having all the answers, but it's about believing when things aren't clear. So the whole walk by faith and not by sight. Um, so which we see in Hebrews 11 and Corinthians 1 and 2, paraphrases kind of those things. And doubt is also part of the journey. Often when we doubt, we look at faith in a deeper way. We pick it apart, maybe look at bits that we find that it's hard to believe because for some of us it's easy to believe in certain parts of the story, but it's harder to believe in other parts, and that can actually really really deepen our relationship with faith. And people in the Bible have struggled to believe as well, like the man in Mark 9:24. Help me to believe my unbelief. I think it's the scripture said, like, help me believe my unbelief. And it doesn't cancel faith at all to doubt. So I think doubt is something that we should be comfortable with as Christians. And God meets us where we are as well. It's not about being perfect. At the end of the day, He came to be with His children. And the same way that perhaps human parents meet their children wherever they're at, that's how God meets us as well. And to kind of look at the biblical part of that, like Psalm 23, when we say, when I walk through the valley, for even when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, whom shall I fear, because God is with me. So I feel like even though we go through some really dark times and doubts and silence, God is still there. He meets us where we are.
Mm.
And that's a beautiful thing. So I think if you feel unbelief and if you feel that faith is absent, it's nothing to despair about. Just it can be a celebration actually, because you will then have to go deeper into faith, and maybe, you know, it will be revived in a more beautiful and meaningful way than it was before.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you so much, Lynn. That is a really, really true. Each one of us is going to have doubts, but I think sometimes we can fear those doubts, can't we? We fear that unless we are completely and absolutely sure of everything, then we must be failing. But the reality is, like you say, those questions strengthen our faith in God. And being able to ask those questions allows us to investigate further and gain an even deeper understanding of who God is and and what He's done for us. So
Exactly. And that can really strengthen it, our faith and our relationship with God.
yes, it certainly does. Well, thank you so much, Lynn, for this wonderful thought for the day. Plenty for us each to reflect on, and like you say, if we are struggling, we can be assured because there's so many people in the Bible who express that, like David, who was going through that really tough time. He expresses his fears and his doubts and his questions, but he comes through that because God leads us through. And there are going to be dark times, but you know, if we can just hold on to God, He can help us through those and help us to come through with an even deeper and stronger faith in Him. So, thank you so much for that wonderful thought. It's been great to speak to you today. Have a great week.
And same to you. Thanks for having me.